Growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook.
How do you know that your course is worthy of the price tag? Try this. Write a testimonial for your own course. What you want your students to say, what solutions do you provide to what pains, what do you want them to say about you and your course and how you served them from their zero to their hero state. And then optimize your course through these lenses to determine what they need, not just information, the knowledge, but the skills the student will be able to ...
Hey, it's Pat here. You're about to listen to something a little different on the show today. It's not our usual Friday format where I follow up on Wednesday's episode. Don't worry, those aren't going away forever. Just a little break to bring in something even more special, in my opinion. And this episode and the next few are a part of our Teaching Friday series, which we do with our SPI Pro members. We have an incredibly talented pool of people within SPI Pro, so we thought, why not give our pros the spotlight and teach you here on the podcast every once in a while. It's just one of the perks of being a part of Pro, in fact, is this possibility. With each episode, you get to hear a different pro teach you something special from their area of expertise. Without further ado, I'll let them take it away. Oh, and if you want to find out more about SPI Pro and be a part of it, you can go ahead and apply at spipro.com.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your guest host. She's an international band crasher. In 2007, she crashed a band in Mexico and has since married the band leader. She's lived near Cancun ever since as a laptop entrepreneur, Marla Bainbridge.
Hi, Pat. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of Teaching Fridays on the SPI podcast. I'm really looking forward to it. My name is Marla Bainbridge Martinez, and I work with course creators to refocus, get unstuck, to create an optimized learning experience that delivers transformations and specific reviews for social proof that just brings more opportunities to help more people. I've been an entrepreneur with numerous businesses over the years, and I have a master's degree in educational leadership. And as an educational consultant, I worked with educators and professionals internationally to create quality and aligned curriculums for their programs using a strategy called curriculum mapping. So how many courses have you signed up for and never finished, or had buyer's remorse, or beat yourself up because you just couldn't get through it? It's probably not your fault. During the pandemic, I went on this course binge and I took so many courses, and so many times I just felt like such a failure for not finishing them and questioned what was wrong with me. So then for fun, I just developed a system where I began to deconstruct and sort of optimize those online courses so that they were beyond just a simple recorded presentation of information to a true learning experience with action items and outcomes through a curriculum mapping process. And then I used different lenses to make sure that I had optimized the course as best it could be. So a learning experience, it offers action items that are going to lead the learner to a transformation that the course has promised. So to help more people, we need social proof, and that's how we get in front of our audience. And that's how people know what we can do that has helped others and how we might be able to serve them as well. The entrepreneurs that I work with, they want to optimize their online course for their audience so that they have a top-notch learning experience. And, there are typically 4 things that I hear from entrepreneurs about course creation. The first is, I'm stuck. I don't know where to start. And then the next is, I want to make sure that this course is worth the high ticket price tag that I'm charging. And then I want to know that my learners are going to find the transformation and the success that I'm promising, that the content is organized and it's not just a lot of information and it makes sense. And then I want, how will people know how I can serve them without the social proof and, getting the right kind of testimonial and the correctly written review so that it really highlights what you do as an entrepreneur. Refocus is an acronym or lenses that I use to deconstruct and optimize an online course, to analyze it for, and the acronym is results, results, E, engagement, F, feedback, O, outcomes, C, chunking, U, unique learners, and S, spiraled. So that spells refocused. And this just helps to ensure a cohesive learning experience. It makes sense to think that course creation is a straight line. We're trying to get people from point A to point B, but in reality, the process of planning a course is more like a scribbled line in a circle all on the paper. It means reviewing our content through different lenses, such as the refocus, to optimize for an engaged, aligned curriculum. There are many course creators who have their own process of getting started and getting unstuck, as I mentioned, and brainstorming with Post-it notes and whiteboards and all kinds of different ways. Those are a really great start. It really helps you define your pillar content and what are the main categories that your course is about. And then typically people kind of develop bullet points underneath those. However, the next steps after the brainstorming are the ones that really determine the quality of your course. The categories that evolve from your brainstorming should be aligned with that pillar content. Consider the problems that you solve, services that you offer, and the people that you serve, just the overall transformation that you're promising from your course or program. And then from here, you're going to take that and reverse engineer that with a plan of backward design to ensure that you're delivering on that promise. And then once you get this framework in place, then you use those refocus lenses to ensure that you have an optimized course that brings you referrals, reviews, and testimonials that you can then use as social proof to serve more people. So let's talk about each of these lenses that I've sort of put together, the refocus. The first is the result statement. How do you know that your course is worthy of the price tag? This lens of results, it focuses on that clarity and the alignment of the transformation or the results that you're promising. And that is sort of this overarching concept that is a common thread through every module, and it keeps pulling everyone back to that main idea. And then using this backward design process, you can ensure that that's what's being delivered. And the result statement or the transformation should be what you want your learners to say about your course. So if, let's say 2 years from now, one of your students who's gone through your course and found success, someone asked them, how did you get where you are today? What do you want them to say about you and your course and how you served them and got them to where they were from their zero to their hero state? When you take that, use these words, their language, and stating what they want, and then you give them what they need, because they don't always know what they need. They only know what they want. If they knew what they needed, they would already probably have it. So what they want is one thing, but what they need is maybe something else. And that's what that's your gift to them. And so for these results to be aligned, I kind of deconstruct each module into knowledge and skills. The knowledge is sort of the noun and the skill is the measurable action verb. So knowledge is just the information and the skill is what you want students to be able to do with it. This is how you ensure that your course is not just a recorded presentation of information, but there is action behind it. I can read a book on what is a carburetor and how to change it. but that doesn't mean I'm able to do it. At that point, it is only knowledge. It is not skill. I've not done anything with that information. So try this. Write a testimonial for your own course based on your own 3 to 5 pillar content, what you want your students to say that you came up with in your brainstorm that we discussed earlier. What solutions do you provide to what pains? And then optimize your course through these lenses to determine what they need, not just information, the knowledge, but the skills will be able to do. The student will be able to ... And you want to start with that with an action verb. So if we're going to get our learners from this 0 to hero state with our course, we have to keep them engaged long enough to finish the course, or at least get them to the point to have success what they came for. I used to think that finishing the course was the goal. And then I realized that it depends on the frame of reference of the learner. At some point, they may get everything they need before they finish the course. So that's not really the correct measurement. I believe that the review, the referral, the testimonial, and building that into your course is a better way to measure the success of your course. So let's think about this. If you want them to get that far, you need to keep them engaged. And E is the engagement in lens and refocus. So think about this. What makes you want to binge watch the next episode of a Netflix series? It's that dopamine in your brain. It's something that you've built on, that you want to know the next piece. You've gotten what you needed and you want to know more. There's something it's tied into wanting to know more. So you want to build in action items or quick wins and even milestones to keep that dopamine pumping in their brain, just like this Netflix series. If your learners are finding quick success, you're not making them sit too long through the beginning of your introduction and your first module, I recommend that you get to a quick win as fast as possible. And that's keeping them moving forward. And when they do see that progress, it's just natural that they're going to want to move forward again. And I use this engagement lens to analyze where these quick wins are in the course. So if you've mapped out your course into your modules and sections, or whatever you want to call them, then you go through with this lens and analyze where are those quick wins and how fast am I getting them there to keep your learners engaged. So stories, graphics, images, case studies, examples, these are all ways that we connect with learners. And whenever we hear stories, a lot of our brain naturally is going to reference our own frame of reference and how we can connect that. So when we deconstruct the course, we can track where we are using these examples and how are we building on them intentionally. Essential questions are ways that we engage the brain before we give them new information. So for example, in the beginning of this segment, the E of refocus, I asked, what makes you want to watch the next episode when you're binging a Netflix series? Asking that question, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just building on your own frame of reference and helping you make connections about what I was telling you about keeping your learners engaged with quick wins and intentionally tracking your stories and building on those, creating that frame of reference. So try this. Write an open-ended, provocative question that get your learners thinking about what you're about to tell them. It doesn't have a right or wrong answer. It's not a quiz. It's just something to stimulate that frontal cortex of their brain. So the next letter in my lenses is the F in refocus. And this is about feedback. How do you know what you don't know? Again, there's my essential question. If I have an opportunity to show what I understand and what I know through discourse and discussion, because learning is social, or a self-check worksheet or a partner or an activity, then I can move forward because I know I'm on the right track. How many times have we been in a course and we go, am I doing this correctly? Is this right? So you build in those feedback loops so that you are getting those practice and that feedback in, because practice makes permanent, not necessarily perfect. It's a bonus if the course creator, helped me identify where I am in my own understanding and then highlight the value of the growth that I've had in that module. And then I can use that reflection when I'm writing the testimonial. At the end of the course, when they ask me to write that testimonial, I can go back and look at how I felt and what my growth was, because I have that feedback. And then the O is Outcomes. How do you know what you don't know? We talked about feedback and how practice makes permanent, and outcomes are just opportunities to explain and interpret and apply that knowledge and share a perspective and their own self-knowledge. And you can measure the outcome. It's clearly defined for the student to count as a win. And win, that means results, and results mean transformation, and transformation leads to reviews and recommendations. So for each module, really define the benefit statement for those features and just consider the logical and practical and emotional aspect of this feature. Why does it matter to them? This is their why. And identify the opportunities to invite your students to articulate those wins, whether you have a group or it's in a discussion channel, or maybe it's just in a journal. But those milestones are wins, and wins are motivating. So outcomes, you have to think of your outcomes as milestones and wins, and be intentional with these and aligning those to your course and module goals, the plan of action for your students to get from that 0 to hero state. And these are also opportunities, these feedback opportunities are a great way to identify misunderstandings and address those, which is why I always suggest doing the first round of a course live so that you can identify those misunderstandings. And by defining your action items and aligning those to your results, you're just affirming that you're delivering on the promise that you have promised them for the course, which goes back to the point of how do you know your course is worth what you're charging for it? So this means that the reviews that you want your students to write at the end of the course, you're strategically helping them write components of that throughout your course. We've all heard we teach people how to treat us. It's your opportunity here to teach them what you want them to say about you when they write the review and the testimonial. If you have them do that in somewhat of a reflection statement or some sort of action item at the end of each section or module, all they have to do is sort of summarize that at the end of your course. So the next lens is the C in refocus, and it's about chunking and, chunking your information into manageable parts, and it prevents overwhelm, which provides more opportunities for small wins. And it also keeps them engaged. When we're overwhelmed, we tend to just, I can't do this right now. I don't have the mental capacity for it. And you walk away. So if you chunk your information into smaller, manageable pieces, it's a lot easier to keep them engaged. We've all heard drinking water is great unless you're drinking from a fire hydrant. And then that's just too much. It's overwhelming and it's not engaging. And so chunking is the way that we can manage that. But that said, all information is not created equal. The complexity of the content, the timing, my own frame of reference of, and when it's introduced, and depending on what I know and what I don't know and how much I'm going to make a reference to it, all of that matters. And there's actually a learning spectrum that we follow to sort of scaffold learning in a way that's we're not asking too much too soon. And that's, Bloom's taxonomy. And, consider the car example that I mentioned earlier. If I'm given a list of basic terms, maybe a diagram of a carburetor, and then I'm asked to look at this car and analyze the problem based on that, I'm probably missing a few steps in between. And a lot of times as course creators, it's really easy for us to do that because we know where we're trying to get them. And sometimes it's hard and we can miss those pieces. But by mapping out your content into your modules and sections and breaking it apart into knowledge and skills and action items and understanding that evidence of understanding and what it looks like, that is how we know we're taking people on the journey that they need to get to that transformation. So determining that range for each module, also, when you chunk information, it's also a really good way to decide how long each module is going to be. And it's important because if I'm sitting down to do the next module and I know the last module was 6 minutes, but the next module might be 30, I don't really have 30 minutes. How long is it going to be? I'm going through wondering, how much more time do I have? And I'm not as focused. So keeping your modules kind of close to the same amount of time is also a really good way to help the brain really digest what that new learning is. And then finally, there's a primacy recency effect, which is brain research, and that we use when we plan these learning episodes. And it's basically that the brain, in let's say a 20-minute learning episode, You have their level of learning, their attention mostly in the first 12 minutes, and then it peaks, and then it's going to drop into a valley, which is good for you to know, because then that's when you plan an opportunity to re-engage the brain. And then the last 2 minutes of that 20-minute learning episode, the last 2 minutes, is when you don't restate everything that you just told them, but you transfer that knowledge and you help connect it, because new knowledge needs prior knowledge to build on. So you're taking that and you're spiraling that through. The U lens is the unique learner. When you are learning something new, what's your preferred learning style? Are you a learner that needs to see it on a video, or do you need to read it and see the words, or write it, make notes? Do you need to just listen to it on a podcast? How do you get your news? What's your easiest way to get it? So we want to make sure that we're providing opportunities and choices for people to meet their unique learning style. And just anticipate where's the friction and where are the misunderstandings going to be, and making sure that you're considering their frame of reference and what objections they're going to have, and helping them, guide them around those pitfalls using different modes of learning. So maybe I want to read the transcript, or maybe I then want to listen to the podcast. Maybe then I want to watch the video, and then maybe I'm going to take notes on a worksheet. Or maybe I only want to choose one of those, but at least if I have a multitude of options, I can do what works best for me as the learner, when those resources are provided to me to kind of supplement that learning experience. And then the final lens is S, which is spiraling. And this is just a great process for ensuring that you're being intentional with the information that you're going to give, and that you are help eliminating that information that's just really not necessary. It's just extra. And the brain, like I mentioned, the brain learns new knowledge by connecting it to prior knowledge. So something that it can associate it with. So you want to make sure, by using curriculum mapping, how you're tracking, how you are spiraling that content, and how is that common thread of your overall transformation that you've promised, that result statement that we discussed in the beginning, how is it all spiraling through and tying it all together? And, getting to know your students and know where their frame of reference is and how you can build on that are all really good strategies for that. Each component of a curriculum map or a content map, it's intentionally aligned to all of the other components, and it creates a seamless process to get to that transformation. And by identifying your key content and your skills and your overall course outcomes, and intentionally connecting those through stories and charts and graphs and photos and images through each module, it's building a bigger picture, a connected picture that is aligned to create a true learning experience for your learners. And you've spiraled through and helping really gain that understanding. So I hope that helps to understand that course creation, in my opinion, is not a direct line. It's messy. It's not a straight line. It's a scribbled on a page where you create it, and then you go back and you look at it again, and you use feedback from your students, and you're offering feedback to your students. You have a result statement and outcomes that are driving those action items and the wins that keep your students engaged, so that it is worth that high ticket price tag. And it is worth, and you are ending up with social proof, referrals, reviews, and testimonials that are very specific to the transformation that you're promising, as well as those 3 to 5 pillar content that you're serving your audience with and getting them to where they want to be. Thank you so much for your time. I can be reached at Marla Bainbridge Martinez at refocusedincome.com. If you would like to just hop on a quick call and see if you're curious how I might optimize your course and deconstruct your course, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Our senior producer is Sarah Jane Hess. Our series producer is David Grabowski. And our executive producer is Matt Gartland. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media. We'll catch you in the next session. Hey, fellow podcaster, does this sound like something you've experienced? You record your podcast episode on one platform, download the files, edit in another app, then fire up a different tool just to create these social clips? Well, it can be clunky, time-consuming, and frankly overwhelming, especially for creators trying to grow. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Riverside. Riverside is the all-in-one platform. Record, edit, and repurpose your podcast content all in one place. You just log in, record with your guests no matter where you are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video. We use Riverside here at SPI as well now. With built-in AI, I can automatically clean up my audio, saving myself so much editing time, and it can even auto-generate clips to make promoting the show a breeze. And with Magic Clips, I can grab the best moments and repurpose them as short-form video, perfect for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram, without re-recording a thing. So if you're tired of juggling tools and want a faster, simpler way to create and scale your content, it's time to try Riverside, built by creators for creators. Just go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. Have you dreamt about being your own boss, but still haven't made the first steps to making that dream a reality? Well, I get that. Starting a business can feel super overwhelming with legal forms, paperwork, finances. It's a lot. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Taylor Brands. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal assets and the business assets separate from day one. From there, you get access to everything you need to get off the ground. Legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program, all designed to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free, personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, listeners of this show get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. All you have to do is head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.